Hello, my loves. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Just saying. Just saying. I am going to share this into my group really fast. Looks like we now are live. There's a little bit of a delay happening. Per usual. So I'm just going to let people get notified. There we go. Now we have shared. If you're watching the replay, hashtag it replay. Let me know that you watched and where you were watching from. Oh, I am coming off of a 3-day trauma conference. It was a combination of facilitating us into new awarenesses, into new awarenesses of new fragments of self, and just, I don't know, I'm still digesting all of it, but let me tell you, it was the most transformational conference I've ever attended. It was so amazing. It was so validating for me because you guys know that from day one, I have been about embodiment, be the change, right? Anchoring in that higher knowing, that awareness, it's one thing to have an awareness, this is something that is so prevalent right now in the spiritual community, but just across the board. It's so prevalent because so many people, and I was one of those people, were just like, learn, educate, have awareness, right? We have triggers and we have awarenesses, and we're like, oh, that's why I do that, or this is why this happens, or when this person says or does this, this is what happens to me. Like we have all these awarenesses, right? And we think that that's it. We had the awareness, like it should all be better now, or we sat with the emotion, it should all be better now. And that's what a big problem amongst the healing community and the coaching community out there is embodiment hasn't been the priority. And for me, it's always been that way. For me, I consider myself a ground up teacher. Good morning, Salim. A ground up teacher, which means we work from the body up. We work from the body up because everything's in your body. And you guys know I say this all the time, but it was so validating because there isn't a lot of practitioners out there and a lot of coaches or guides or healers or way showers, whatever you want to call us, that everything is about embodying it. So you can have all the awarenesses in the world. And this is why I often freely share information on YouTube or Facebook. Why I'm so giving with my posts is because the awareness is one thing. But good morning, Shelley. But do you know how to put that awareness into practice? Do you know how to take that information and translate it into change? And that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they think because they felt the emotion, because they've had the awareness, that now everything should be different. But what will be out in my book, when my book publishes, and something that I talk about a lot, is that this is a journey. And what I do is give you the tools, and what most coaches, this is, if you're not working with somebody who's doing this, then listen to me. Anybody that you go to, it doesn't have to be me, anybody that you feel guided to work with, like to really work through your trauma or your personal stuff. Number one, they should make you feel safe. Hi, Tanya. They should make you feel safe. And I always laugh because my friend Ashley always makes fun of me. She's like, you do all these courses and you work with all these practitioners, and you always come back to me and say that you already knew all of that, and you didn't really gain anything from it. And I laugh because I do gain from it. What I gain is what not to do. I'm a magnet for attracting the shitty coaches and the practitioners. Since the beginning, I have met some amazing ones, and I have met some really crappy ones. But a lot of the very first thing that always happens with the practitioners that I don't resonate with, or the courses that I don't resonate with, is I didn't feel safe. Because if you don't feel safe, you guys, you're not going to open your heart. You're not going to let your grief out. You're not going to share your true self. You're going to be wearing the mask, and you're going to have to go through the layers of the mask before you ever get to the root. And by then you've wasted so much money and time. It's so crazy. So anyway, tangent, that was a tangent. But that's it. Like when you going to work with somebody, or you have to feel safe with them. They have to be somebody who, that's their job. Their job is to create a safe container. Their job is to create that safety zone so that when you come into the energy, it's like, oh my God, I'm finally can let it all go. And that's what happens a lot of times with people who come to me, is they just instantly start crying, or they just word vomit it all out. And to me, that is like, that's worth more to me than any dollar figure, is seeing somebody feel safe to let it all go. Because I didn't ever feel safe. Like most of my life, I didn't feel safe. I didn't have safe relationships. The other big takeaway that I took, that is something that I have said from the beginning, and I've had some pushback from other coaches out there, and that is, we heal in safe relationships. So if you guys have questions, you can drop them in here about any topic. I'm just sharing my ahas from the weekend. We can talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Is we heal in safe relationships. So a lot of times you'll hear people say you have to do it first, and you do have to do it first. That's not wrong. But like, what I mean by is like doing it on your own. Like, you have to be, because we attract what we are in our state of being. That is true. But you can't get to the state of being that you want to get to. You can't make those adjustments. You can, but it's going to be way harder if you don't have something mirroring it back to you. So the relationships are our mirrors, and we're meant to be enter into relationships where we can allow ourselves to be in that vulnerable place and not be shamed, not be guilt, not made it about the other person. Like if I'm having a bad day, it's not so that he will be like, he'll like that my spouse would make it about him, right? It has nothing to do with him. It's that something's happening inside of me. And what I need right now is the safe space to just allow that to play out. And so that's what it means to be in a safe relationship. So you're not trying to fix each other, and you're not trying to make it about yourself. You're not doing that projection shit. And so we learn as we go. But when we try to do this all on our own, let me just tell you, it's so much harder. But I want to be really specific here and really careful with what I say, because this Mercury retrograde square Neptune bullshit is really messing up my words. So I'm going to try to be very, very clear. Most of my life, I didn't feel safe in relationships. I can't remember a time ever where I felt safe in a relationship. And other than my dad, and that was a very enmeshed, unhealthy safety. That wasn't a healthy safety. So my moms, my family members, a lot of my friends, my significant others, none of them have ever felt safe. So my whole entire life, starting from a baby, I had to learn self-regulation. Now, that is when you hear people talk about like cry it out. They're wanting the baby to self-soothe. I can't tell you how many of us are so fucking damaged because of that bullshit. Don't ever let your children be isolated to cry it out alone, or to go cry in the corner, go cry in your room. That is the worst thing we can do. But that is what my life was from the beginning, was self-regulation. I was not nurtured. And when I was nurtured, it was through manipulation. And so I learned to self-regulate. Now, this is a lot of the strong woman syndrome, okay? Because what happened is when I would get into relationships and I would have emotional upheavals, right? I'm going through my ascension. It would become a problem in the relationship, and I wouldn't be able to express it. So I would shove it back down, and I would have to go be by myself, or I would have to leave the relationship to self-regulate. because I did not know how to do it in a relationship. I did not know how to regulate my emotions and my nervous system, because that's what it comes down to, is what I said about 2021. If you go back to my 2021 year prediction, I said, this is all about your nervous system this year. It is all about, last year was, you better know who you are, because what's about to come through your system, you have to be able to discern it. So it's about regulating your nervous system, which then creates an emotional response, right? So I was never taught by my parents or anyone else for that matter, how to regulate my nervous system and emotions in a relationship. So for me, the safest space for me has always been by myself, with no money, with no things, starting over, the reset button, the blow up, right? That's when I would always feel safest, because that is how I learned to regulate, was alone. That was a learned behavior, because that's just how things was for me. So I firmly believe that when you are ready to truly do your healing work, doesn't mean you leave your significant other, but this also doesn't mean if that relationship is toxic that you stay in it, by the way. It's not telling you to stay and face your demons with somebody who's toxic. I'm not saying that either. But it means that whoever you hire, if you hire a coach, a therapist, a healer, shaman, whatever you do, if you're using a friend, it needs to be a safe relationship. We heal in safe relationships. And so for me, this is why I love my private mentorship, because in my private mentorship, you have access to me on Messenger and I freaking respond, right? I'm not at your beck and call, but I'm there for you. You need to know that if it's about you knowing that you have somebody in your corner, that you have somebody that you can count on, that will be a safe space for you, that won't judge you. I try to create a schedule of when, like, this is our day and our time. Now, sometimes, like this week, I'm traveling, right? So this week I've had to move 2 of my clients, but I try to always book my flights around my schedule, but this week I couldn't help that. But I try to create the stability and the structure and the safety that when you come in, you can literally tell me anything, but I'm also not going to be a people pleaser. I will call you out on your bullshit, because you need to be challenged as well in a very safe way. So I'm very proud of the way that I do things. And I've had some judgment from other practitioners, and not that I care what they think, but there's just not a lot of us out there that do it this way. And sometimes you think you're crazy but I'm a 1-3 in human design, and 1-3s go first. And so sometimes the road is lonely when you're carving a new path. Anyway, my point is, you heal in safe relationships. So healing your trauma, your shadow work, becoming aware of more versions of yourself, is best done in a safe relationship with somebody. If you can't hire someone, if you can't even get a therapist, if you don't have a safe friend and you need to do it on your own, it can be done, because I'm proof of that. But I'm going to tell you, it's fucking harder. It is so hard. It is not the easy way. It is not the easy way, but this has taught me how to make it easy for other people. And for that, it gives me purpose. You know what I mean? I tried to talk this morning and it was like I had marbles in my mouth. Tanya witnesses this, because her and I talk all the time. I'm like, in my head, and listen, I'm ruled by Neptune. So I'm like, oh, this Mercury retrograde will be a breeze for me. No, I have these really deep quantum insights right this whole time. Like, I'm hitting the real woo-woo shit, because I'm ruled by Pisces and Neptune. But the communication part is still jacked, because I'm like, I have so much I want to articulate, but I can't get it out smoothly. So be very careful before you speak, people. Just try to get it really clear. Salim says, I am resonating so much with all that you are saying, dealing with strong women syndrome as well. Never felt safe in myself. Yeah. And Salim's working with me. So she's in the right hands. Shelly, you will get to work with me. You will get to work with me. And even if you just be in the portal of potential, like we do some live stuff. So that's even an option. That's a good place to start for people that can't make the other jump. Mine was behind my dad. I was programmed to not trust my decisions without seeking approval first. Yes, same. Well, for me, it wasn't seeking approval for me. So it's not the same, but I can relate. For me, so one of the other things that was cool about this trauma or this trauma conference was he said, um, money equals mom. And as someone who has studied law of attraction, all the universal laws, who knows a ridiculous amount about manifestation. And let me just tell you this, people think because you are connected, I have to say this because I'm tired of it being like this. People think just because you can channel and I'm clairaudient and I can hear and see and all this stuff, right? That we know everything, that we can access anything. But the more you know, the more you realize what you don't know. So a lot of times when you start getting to these levels of awareness where you know a ridiculous amount of shit, it can almost make you feel insecure because you are aware of just how much more you don't know. And this is why I will always be a perpetual student. So anyway, I had to put that out there. But what he had said was mom equals money. And I know what my money wounds are. Again, this is a journey. So we're learning the tools to navigate it. It's a lifestyle. It is not, you don't go to a healer, a coach, and be healed or be better. You learn the very tools that you're going to need to climb fucking Mount Everest, which is this journey, right? You're going to know exactly what you need and you're going to become professional at it. That's what it is. And anyone who tells you different is full of shit. So mom equals money. And I thought, okay, well, I know what my money wounds are. And I have this year, I have spent 2020, 2021 has really been healing the mom wound for me because my mom left when I was 3. And I had to also look at my stepmom because my stepmom, and then my grandma, right? So my mom left when I was 3. My grandma was my pseudo mom. And then I had a stepmom. She wasn't really my stepmom, but it's what we're going to call her. And so I had to look at all 3 women, and I was blown away when I did the fragmentation work, when I did the parts work of seeing exactly the exact like reason why I am the way that I am, the exact reason why that wound, that pattern set in. So now I'm even deeper aware of the pattern, right? I've gotten to the root of the pattern. Great. Now I absolutely know how that program operates. I know when it kicks on. I know what it feels like when it's running. I know the stories that are attached to it. Like if you guys work with me and you know the 4 frequencies, you know how I do the process. So I know all the moving parts. There's your awareness. You've gotten to the root. Everyone wants to know, why did this happen? Where did it come from? What's the root? So I got to that point. And so what you have to do now is every time that program kicks on, you have to disrupt the pattern and you have to reprogram the new one. And this is the work, right? If you guys I'm sure you guys have heard of the book, The Work, but it's like, this is the work. It's every day in your human experience, utilizing the tools, being aware and mindful of the program and pattern that's running, and choosing differently. Choosing differently. So for me, my stepmom gaslit me. I knew intuitively, we always know. Intuitively, whether you think you're intuitive or not, you always know. You always know. But the reason why we don't believe ourselves, like with Tanya, right? So her dad made her, trained her to seek for approval. Where me, it was like I was told I was wrong over and over and over and over and over and over again. I was always wrong. So I learned I just stopped trusting myself. My intuition must be wrong because I was constantly told I was wrong when I wasn't. I knew I wasn't. So this is why learning to trust yourself is the is the holy grail of the journey. Because when you trust yourself, that's the ultimate self-love. You don't give a flying F what anyone else says, or what anyone else does, because you know that's just where they are. They're not wrong and you're not wrong. You're both right. You're just at different spots of that evolutionary spiral. That's it. Oh, thank you, Salim. Yeah, Shelly, the Soul Flow Experience masterclass, that's going to be really good. It's going to be really good. It's actually one of my favorite programs. It will launch into the Soul Flow Experience program. I ran that live in 2019, and I'm going to run it live again this year. Kelly, are you back from your trip? I got to see my control on an even deeper level. Can't wait to talk with you soon. Yay! I can't wait to hear about all of this. We'll have to pick a time where we can go a little over, because I just want to hear about your trip. I was also wrong all the time. Hello. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. But, I don't have any hate or I had a lot of anger for a long time that my childhood was robbed from me. And that is important because I didn't know how to play. But now it's doing small little things. Like today, I just got back from riding my bike. And that, honestly, my bike riding has become more sacred to me than my meditation, because that is my space for grace. And space for grace is the space for my inner child. That's the name of my inner child collective, is Grace. Synchronistically, it's also what my name means. My name means grace. So when I ride my bike, I return to that innocence of being a little girl who is just a little girl. She's not a business owner. She's not taking care of her parents. She's not a parent. She's not any of those things. She's a little girl on a bike who is smelling all the flowers and trees, who is watching the bunnies and the squirrels, who feels the wind on her face. Like, feeling the wind is my favorite thing, because you can't see it, but you can feel it and you can hear it. It's the most sacred thing to me, wind. I don't know why, but when I hear the wind coming through the trees, it's like my favorite thing ever. Oh, I don't know. It's magic to me. And I just go to this place inside of myself where it's like I'm a little girl and I'm free. And she gets to be the driver of my vehicle, right? Of my human Tesla. It's so important for us to go back and learn these things, And so I was not in touch with my inner child collective for a very long time. They were locked in a closet for a very long time. Even as a child, they couldn't come out. So, when you were made to be the responsible one, or you chose to be the responsible one as a child and parent your parents, or your siblings, or just you're having to parent yourself because your parents, weren't capable of it or going through their own hard times, we sometimes lose that innocence and we forget how to play. And so we have these chips on our shoulders and we become these responsible people who never know how to take a load off. That is not fun. Mm-mm. I can't wait for our adventure either. So you guys, some of you know, I'm going to meet Tanya. And we're going to road trip it back to the UP of Michigan where she's at. And it's going to be a fucking, sorry, my cussing today is a little overboard, but it's going to be an adventure. It's going to be an adventure. And I'm just so excited to connect and be with my friend and like laugh. Cause honestly, we should have like A&E or whatever camera. We should have a reality show following us, because it's just a shit show, and it's going to be a fun shit show. And I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited. And it's coming at the perfect time, because 3 days of cramming in all this knowledge and doing all this big trauma work, and you need to integrate and play. And I've never been to Michigan, so that's a new place for me. I was hoping that I was going to escape the humidity and the bugs, but apparently that's not going to happen. So how are you guys feeling? We are days away from the eclipse. I'm flying on an eclipse. What the hell was I thinking? Are you guys feeling it? The Schumann has been crazy over the last 24 hours. We've had huge spikes. Michigan is home for you, Shelly. Oh, are you in the UP, or is that where you are right now? Like I am, like right now I'm sweating. We must have Metatron here. Metatron makes me sweat. But the Schumann has been, I know last night I was having a hard time grounding. It was getting pretty, the frequency was getting pretty high. Tanya says major alien dreams last night. Other than that, feeling good. I just been having some weird dreams. Who else is having weird dreams? Did they abduct you, Tanya? You guys know as a little girl, I was obsessed with aliens. Obsessed. I wanted to be an astronaut, not to go make discoveries about the moon. Hi, Ginger. Or planets. I wanted to meet aliens. I wanted them to come to my door so I could take them out for ice cream. And my obsession hasn't changed because I have a collection of aliens on my desk. I know. We must have some galactics here because Ginger's making my cat makes a certain cry when the galactics are around. A few hours south of the UP, but I go often. Nice. Hello. No, ma'am. She just does what she wants. She just does what she wants. Animals. I actually have been feeling pretty good. And here's an interesting thing about this eclipse, though. Even though the Schumann's been acting up, and a lot of times we get that kind of doomsday table flipping. This eclipse portal is table flipping energy, right? But it doesn't mean it's always a bad table flip. It means that this is divine intervention coming in. This is divine realignment. This is when our path drastically shifts. And I feel like that's a big spectrum. So it might be a little shift for you. It might be a big shift for you. It just depends on if it's your cycle. I know this is my cycle because part of this eclipse began in 2012. 2012 is one of the many spirals that this eclipse is tapped into. And that's when I had made the decision to move across country. So my whole life shifted. So I know my life is about to shift again. No, ma'am. They were harvesting junk. I did not get abducted. They were taking our cars. Why would they want to harvest our junk? I don't feel like we have anything good to offer them. I feel like they have only things to offer us. Does anybody else feel that way? Like you look out and I feel like this is a true starseed thing. Like you look out and you're like, this is all child's play. Like this is all beyond minor league. Like we could do way better than this. It's like you look out and you're like, really? This is the game we designed. I really feel that way. I look out some days and I'm like, oh, I know we could do better than this. Someone needs to. And that's what I think we're doing. I think we're up. That's why it's the Great Awakening. I feel like we're going through a major software upgrade, hardware upgrade. I feel like we're going through the hardware upgrade right now. We've been going through the software upgrade. A lot of us are preparing. Like I feel like a lot of the way showers are the people that are going through the major software upgrades right now, because as soon as the hardware shifts, there has to be an initial program to run, right? So I feel like us way showers who are like going through the thick of it, the hardcore stuff right now that a lot of people are about to go through, we have to have that new software running in our consciousness because we're going through a collective hardware upgrade. I've been feeling like I see so much that others miss, and I can't wait for people to open their eyes and see the truth. You see the patterns. Yeah, that's a really good gift to have, to see patterns. And all we can do is hold space for the people when they do awaken, because it's hard sometimes, you guys. It just is. It's hard to stay in your own lane when you have this much awareness. But, that's a part of learning boundaries, is not getting into other people's business. And that was a hard lesson for me. And it still is, to be honest. It's still something that I will practice every day of my life, because I'm here to help people and I want to help people. So it's like ingrained in me to help people. So like, for example, my ex is having a lot of car problems, and that followed a lot of health problems. Your body is a masculine structuring. Your body is your vehicle. Your actual car is also a vehicle. It's also masculine energy. So everything is always messages. Everything's always in plain sight. Oh my God. The other night I channeled Tesla. This is coming in right now. I just want to see if I can find it. And I haven't been able to go back and clean up the channeling, because these can be a mess to read them, especially with my spelling. But there was a thing on there that they just brought to me, and I want to see if I can find it and read it. About everything as a sign, everything's in plain sight. Like, everything is always trying to show us what's available. Okay, here it is. So this was after I channeled Tesla. This came in. So the water slide is a blank. So out of context, you probably won't understand, but we'll just give it a shot. So if everything's a sign in the world, if everything's trying to show you how this universe works and what you truly are, it's always like, everything's always available. So the water slide, right? Forget about the water flowing on it, just the structure of the slide itself. The water slide is the sign, right? It's the sign. The water flowing down the slide is the energy. So the water slide itself is the state of being. It's the thing. It just is. The water flowing, right, is the energy. So this is part of the Tesla thing, because, well, I don't know. I'll probably share the channeling and the portal potential, because it's just it's ridiculous. The child going down the slide is the vibration. Is the child screaming with excitement or terror? Are they trying to hold on for dear life, or did they let go and enjoy the ride? So really think about that for a second. The water slide is the state of being, is the thing. It can't be changed. It's the structure. The water flowing down the slide is the energy. Frequency, energy, vibration, right? People always say, I want to raise my vibration. Your vibration is the radio waves. When you raise your vibration without raising your frequency, all you're doing is sending whatever state of being you are in further out into the world. Don't do that. It's about changing your state of being. This is why we have to become the change. This is why we have to embody the frequency. So the water flowing down the slide is the energy. That's your emotions. That's what triggers you or invokes an action. The child going down the slide is the vibration. So the vibration is sending out whatever this child's state of being is, right? Whatever emotion has been invoked. Is the child screaming with excitement or terror? Are they trying to hold on for dear life, or did they let go and enjoy the ride? I don't know how we got to this, and I've probably squirreled about 5 times. Bring some space, peanuts. Rich and Leo, Angling UK. Hello, I'm good. How are you? I'm not going fishing. Anyway, I don't know how we ended up getting over there, but it popped in. But everything's a sign. Everything's a sign out in the universe. Like, everything is always showing us the pattern, right? And so, Shelley, you were talking about a pattern that is there. It's a pattern. It's showing us. It's showing constantly. We're being seen duality. Constantly, it's out there. Everything is a sign. So on a very human level, everything's always in plain sight. So a lot of the conspiracy people, or I don't even like to call them that, a lot of the people that are aware of a lot of the drama that's being exposed, right? So one of the things that they said was watch the water. That's something that has been out there for a while. Watch the water, watch the water. The G7 conference over the weekend was called Watch the Water. Like, I can't make this up. It's always in plain sight. Everything is always in plain sight. Evergreen on the ship. It was on the ship. It was broadcast. The ship turned sideways so you could see it. Like, everything is always in plain sight. It's just that it has to be that way because it's constantly trying. Everything in the simulation is constantly trying to awaken us to the remembrance of who we really are and become more aware of self. But everybody has to do that in their own time. So anyway, back to my original story that I squirreled off from. My ex was having car problems, and then, he's already had health problems. And so internally, I'm like, well, I already knew what the wounds were and what they were trying to make him become aware of. And they're trying to get him to stop and face it, but he's not getting it. It's not clicking. And everything in me wants to be like, this is what it is. And this is how you fix it. And I even made him a little bit aware of what I asked him first, of course, and with his permission, I shared a little bit of insight. And I immediately realized I can't do this because it will actually disrupt the pattern. It will actually slow him down because he didn't come aware of it himself. So this is why I repeat myself so many times. And this is why so many other coaches repeat themselves. And this is why it's just a spiral of information where we go deeper and deeper and wider and give more and more depth and context and understanding to the same principles over and over and over again, because it's not about us awakening them or making them aware. We can continuously put the information out. We can continuously share and be the change, but throwing it in someone's face and being like, this is it, look at it. They're like, okay. But if they're not, if they haven't had that awareness on their own, if they haven't come to terms with it because of how their life pattern needed to unfold, it's not going to click. It's not going to click. They won't get it. It won't help them. It will slow them down because now they're looking for something that they don't understand. So this is why I feel like we have to tread lightly on how we communicate with people who are asleep. And there's a lot of people out there right now who are throwing it in people's faces. You called me a conspiracy theorist, and here's, this is really happening now. And that's not creating safety, you guys. That's ego. Being facetious, being judgmental, throwing it in people's faces, I told you so, because they made you feel crazy. Nobody makes you feel anything. That's just what you felt. You felt you were crazy because that's a childhood program. You were gaslit when you wanted to trust your intuition. So now that person is coming back to you going, as becoming aware of it. And now you want to be like, I see, I told you so. You're wanting to be validated. You're wanting to be vindicated. You're wanting to come into homeostasis. You're wanting it to be closure. You're not always going to get that sorry. You're not always going to get that apology. You're not always going to get someone. So why do it? Instead, be the change and be that safe space so that when they wake up, they're going to come to you and be like, how did you know this? Teach me what you know. But if you're an asshole and I told you so, and be like that person's not going to come to you. That person's going to be further. They're going to feel more shame, and they're going to feel more guilt. They're not going to feel safe, and they're not going to want to learn and become aware. So just keep that in the back of your mind when more and more comes out, and the people who once thought you were crazy are now becoming aware. Be the change. Be better. Be the safe space. I know I wish I would have had that. I mean, I've never really fully been asleep, but I was asleep. I still have moments of being asleep. We all do. Until you've mastered your ascension, you are always still awakening. We're always still more room to learn. You guys have heard me say it before. Jesus was the human. Christ consciousness was what he allowed to drive his vehicle. That's where the name Jesus Christ came from. He mastered his ascension. That's why he was able to be seen after being killed, right? Reborn. They basically were able to see him transition from one state to another. That's why people love him so much. So anyways, that was my tangent, 40 minutes in. So anyone want to talk about anything else? Can you guys relate to what I was saying? Just observe the world and see how it's one of my favorite things to do. As a teenager, I used to go sit at the mall and just watch people. And I could tell their whole life story about how they walked, about their facial expressions, about their shopping bags. I always say it was my psychic training ground. Because it's just what I did. But if you observe the world, you can see how everything is a symbol and everything is trying to tell you something. And it's really, really cool. Oh, thank you, Salim. It's been really freeing just to come on here and just talk about stuff. And we've got into some deep conversations. But I won't be on much this week because I have a lot to do to prepare for my trip. And of course, I have my private clients still. So today's going to be probably the only day that I am live in the morning this week. But you guys can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I will be sharing behind the scenes of the trip. Good morning, Meredith. Because I'm sure, as Tanya and I have said, it's going to be a shit show, but it's going to be fun. So we always make it fun. I even got us matching shirts. That's how excited I am. I got us matching shirts. And we're doing the photo shoot for the book cover. We're getting there. This book is going to get freaking published this year. I swear to God, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's eventually going to be there, but I'm so excited. I guarantee our trip will be documented. Is that Tanya Media? Tanya Lee, the one who's the comment. Oh, you're on Meredith, you're on YouTube right now. Tanya is Harmonia Tarot. She was the one I had the radio show with, the breakdown. She's the Tanya that I'm talking about. 3 days. 3 days. I'm so excited. So Tanya is Harmonia Tarot. You can follow her on YouTube if you like. She's a tarot reader amongst many other things. She's multi-talented. She's also my book editor, my soul sister. She's taking the photograph of my cover. She's a jack of all trades like me, and it's so much. She's so much fun. Not the author of Living the Intuitive Life, no, but she is an author too. Just not that author of that book. No, she was my co-host on YouTube when we did the breakdown show. Oh, thank you. She said, following your energy updates, and they've been on the money. They're getting more difficult to navigate as moving forward, as I said in June's update, because the change that happened from May to June was so substantial in the way that we went from a collective choosing to an individual choosing. So we went from a phase of where we were collectively choosing and navigating collectively to where it's very individualized now. very individualized. So at any given moment, you are making a choice that is literally going to create your next moment. And that's always been true, but we were more influenced by the collective field. That has separated. And this is where a lot of people feel the timeline shift of 3D to 5D was we are now choosing. And those who will live in the new earth frequencies or are those that are going to let go of suffering. In fact, I wrote this morning. If you fight with the dream, you invoke suffering and it becomes a nightmare. When you allow the dream and observe the dream, we step out of the matrix and become aware. The one who believes the dream is real. One believes the dream is real, the other knows it's an illusion. So it's each person, each day is at any given moment really is choosing what they're going to experience. So it's not as easy to give the updates as they used to be. Someone asked me about the breakdown the other day. I said it broke down. I love that response. I don't know where I am on the awakened scale. You don't have to know, but I have an article, and I think there might even be a video, Meredith, on YouTube. It's the 4 stages of an awakening. So you can go through that. We have the mental awakening always happens first, and that's when we have the belief shifts. Usually something cracks that open, right? There's some type of something that cracks open in your root, but there's always an expansion that happens in your actual brain. It's the mental awakening happens first. So you start to become aware of, I don't believe in this anymore. It's not even that you know what to believe. It's just that you don't know these aren't your beliefs anymore. These people don't resonate anymore. Things don't resonate anymore. You go through emotional awakening, and then there's a physical awakening, and then it's an integration point. So you can go check that out too. Shelly says, I have a question. I've noticed I can do things I've never been taught. I just know. Yeah, that's pretty common. That's claircognizance. Experiencing this ascension in my physical body. Well, it's possible that you're at the body awakening. That's where I am. I'm at the body awakening right now. So we have, this is why I can't wait for the book to be published, because the book really does a good job of explaining it. You go through these cycles multiple times. There's always micro levels of the macro. But when we go to the macro, it is a section of time where we go through a mental awakening, an emotional awakening, and a physical awakening. Within those cycles, we have those same cycles. But I've reached the physical awakening, which means I'm very aware of my trauma. I'm very aware of my programs. I'm very aware of all aspects of myself. I know the different collectives and fragments that live inside of me. I have learned how to sit with myself, to feel my emotions, to ride that, surf. Basically, I've learned to surf and to regulate my nervous system. And I've done a lot of the energetic clearing of the emotional states of being. And now I'm in the body. And so when you hit the body, that's when you're starting to release the trapped trauma that's in your body. So I do a lot of fascia release. I do a lot of saunas. I do body work. This is why I am a huge advocate for not only learning to trust yourself, but to read your own energy and to read your body, because your body is a consciousness, and it literally holds all of the information from all time and space that pertains to you. Everything is actually compacted in the body. So it's about tapping into that. So when we talk about a body awakening, you're going to feel ascension symptoms. You can feel ascension symptoms in your body in the second phase of the awakening. But with the body awakening, it's really about, like, you feel pretty good and you decide to go fuck that up by digging up the trauma that's stuck in your body. Just to be honest. The energy coming from the root chakra into my heart space, like you described in June update. Yeah. You're not going to die. We don't ever die, but it can feel like that. It can feel like that. So part of that, Meredith, feeling like you're going to die is facing your own mortality and being okay with it. Because you know what I mean? Just be like, okay, I guess we're dying today. And I don't mean to, I'm not laughing at you because I know I have been there. There's days where I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. I want out, eject. But it's it's facing your own mortality. I have faced my own mortality so many times, and I'm pretty sure I'll be facing my mortality this coming weekend. So it's just a part of the game. We just keep facing, like before you up level, right? I keep thinking of Nintendo because that's where I am. I haven't upgraded to the new game systems in physical reality. But when I play Nintendo, Mario, before he gets to the next level, he's got to face the dragon, right? It's like the hardest level. There's shooting fireballs and moats of lava. Bye, Tanya. So, it always gets harder right before the up level. And so, you're faced with your most opportunity for death and doom. Howdy. So this is not ear ringing, pressure. Yeah, it's all normal. So ear ringing, pressure, you are upgrading your frequency. You're actually going through a frequency shift. So when you have pressure, you're being repressurized, your full body is going through a frequency shift. When you get one like sharp ring through, that's somebody trying to get a hold of you, like get your attention. So it's depending on what side it's coming from, it'll tell you who's who. This is again, this is all spiritual development work, but so if you get a sharp in and out the other ear, that's somebody trying to be like, hey, pay attention. If you just get if you go through days or sometimes weeks of a constant stream of buzzing, you're going and or pressure, that's going through a frequency shift. So sometimes it will only last a couple of hours. Sometimes it'll last for days. Sometimes it's weeks. It just depends. But you got to allow it. If you fight with this, if you try to get rid of it, if you try to figure out what it is and where it came from and why it's doing it, it's the same thing I told you guys a couple of chats ago, where it's like, you just have to get on the surfboard and surf it. You don't sit there and analyze where'd the wave come from. How big is the wave going to get? How long is it going to stay that big? When is it going to go flat? You can't, that's not how surfing works. You just get on the board and you let go. It's the slide analogy. Are you going to scream and hold on? It's going to turn into suffering and a nightmare. Yeah, a lot of double, triple digit. Yeah, you're going through, you're going through an ascension. You're going through your body is going through ascension, so it's going to the next phase of lightness. So you're shedding a whole version of yourself. Lynn says it's way too intense. It can be. But I'll tell you something. As I've said many times, the more intense it is, the closer it is to your heart space. And so remember, everything's a vending machine, right? So the density lives down in the lower chakras and it vends it up to your heart space. The more intense it is, the closer that old version of you is banging at the door, soaked in blood, sweat, tears, mud, and going, are you going to let me into your heart? So you just have to open your heart and surrender and allow that version of yourself to be held in the darkness, to sit in the dark with that version of yourself. Not try to fix it, not try to medicate it, not try to figure it out. That's your brain. That's your human analytical. And I'll tell you, I did combo, the frog medicine, and we did these. I don't remember what the eye drops were. I don't know if I've talked about this either. It's on the documentary, which is on YouTube. But they put these drops in our eyes, and it was 60 seconds of hell. It was like somebody was ice picking my eyeballs. The point of it was grace through suffering, was to learn to let go, was to allow. So when we were laying down, they put the drops in our eyes. Holy shit. I flew up like, like immediate trauma response. right? My nervous system, my parasympathetic nervous system is activated. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then it was take a breath, grace through suffering. I slowly laid down and started to regulate my breath. And even though it still hurt, it did not hurt nearly as bad as the initial put in when I was fighting it. So again, as I mentioned when I read a piece of that channeling that I did with Tesla, are you holding on for dear life? Are you fighting it? If you fight it, it's going to create so much more suffering. If you allow it and say, this is what it is, I guess we're going to die today. I guess we're going to feel shitty today. When you give yourself permission, it's so much easier. Yeah, the birthing process, Shelley. Exactly. Except the birthing process, we numb our spine. And so we really don't feel. Unless you went natural. With my second, I couldn't have all of that pain medicine because I pulled my tailbone in birth with my first child. And so I had to be able to feel it, ironically. Meredith says, I thank you. I know the other side will be good. My heart space physically hurts. Yeah, it's because your heart's opening. If you haven't already, you'll probably have a big grief release. Yeah, and you guys, women, we are freaking badasses, by the way. I mean, we literally can build a human in our body. We build a human in our body. It'd be like your car being able to multiply cars. Like that's what it is. It's insane. Like we are amazing creatures. You left your body to go through it. Yeah. Disassociation. That's what happened to me when I was trauma. That's why I'm so good at, this is why I'm such a good trance channel where you guys know, what is her name? Abraham Hicks. You know how she walks on stage channeling in body? I'm sure you've seen other people who sit there and let an entity step into them. I can do that. I don't do it publicly, but I do that with all my DNA work. And it's very easy. It's very easy for me. And just as I'm speaking to you right now, I can see myself talking to you because I am such good at observing. But that is like the dualistic, the bright side of having so much trauma in my life and disassociate. I spent most of my childhood disassociating. When you're being abused, you don't want to be in your body. So sometimes I think some of us went through hell and back because it was a training ground for what we would be doing in the future. Meredith, if you really go back through my YouTube channel, there's a whole, you'll see the frog on it. And we did a documentary on combo. Women are so powerful. Well, I don't know. I don't think we've been held down. I think that's a choice we made. I think that's something we allowed. And then we went the opposite way. The pendulum always swings. So we went from being repressed or feeling repressed or choosing to be repressed. We went from being dominated to dominating, right? Where I always laugh and say, we started burning the bras and we wanted equal rights and equal things. Well, let me just tell you something. I don't want equal. I mean, I think we're always going to be equal. But I think when two people come together, whether that's two males, two females, or male and female, doesn't matter. When one's in the masculine and one's in the feminine, you create harmony. Because women, our superpower is our hips down, right? That's our midsection, our legs. We were meant to be creators. And men are their strongest assets are from the waist up. So do you see how we actually create coherence and coming together? The goal is always to balance your own masculine and feminine, but we were meant to co-regulate. We were meant to come together. So we're not equal, as in we can do the same things and like all of that. We can, but we weren't ever meant to be. And I think that's where the translation's been lost, is we have our superpowers and the masculine has their superpowers. So it's about working together. We're not meant to be able to do it all alone. We're not meant to do it all by ourselves. We're capable of doing it all by ourselves. But we didn't come have a physical human experience to be independent, amazing leaders who don't fucking need anybody. That's a trauma response. It's a trauma response. Bye, Meredith. Thanks for hopping on. Ah, so good. Okay, so we're at the hour mark. I love our little chats. It's so amazing. So good. If you guys feel called to join the Portal of Potential, there's a link down below. I will be also sharing more about the Soul Flow experience. It is a 4-day free event. I usually do a couple of these a year, so this is that time of year. It's going to be 4 days of amazing content about learning to trust yourself, about awakening that intuition, about manifestation. It's really about embodying your ability to flow, right? To flow in natural health and wealth, embodying the flow of health and wealth, like really embodying that so that you can surf, so that you can move through the ebbs and flows. And this is why, as I'm preparing, right, Tesla's been coming in. So I have like this huge channeling from Tesla that I have to go through so that I'm going to share that in the Portal of Potential. But so anyway, we have some cool things ahead. You can join the Portal of Potential. This is where I give extra content and more personalized content and more in-depth work. And then that 4 days, so you can look through, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can look through my page and you can see the link to join the Soul Flow Experience 4-day masterclass series. The replays will only be available for a limited time. So be sure, if you make sure, one, you're registered for the event, two, that you're either with me live or that you watch the replays within 24 hours, because I'm not going to be keeping them up forever. The content is going to be very juicy. And you're going to be your opportunity to kind of soak some of that in. All right, you guys. So I'll be in and out as I'll be on my trip. But stay tuned. I love you guys. Hold the ground. You can do this. Okay. Stay grounded in your body and remember to let go and surf. Be that little kid on the water slide. Are you screaming and gripping for dear life, or are you screaming with excitement and just enjoying the ride? Choose who you're going to be as we go through this eclipse. And as we hit the eclipse, you're going to feel a pressure release. So this eclipse will give you a pressure release. Okay. But it's also going to be showing you a lot of things. So stay aware, stay present, be mindful, and enjoy the ride. I love you guys.